Welcome to this training on Adobe Photoshop. Yesterday you guys took this class, so I wanted to follow up with a video of all the things that we did. What we're going to do is we're going to work through a little bit of this, and we're going to go through Photoshop. So if you open up Photoshop, that would be the first thing to start off with. And we're going to talk about how do we begin a new file. And we're going to use, you guys know that you guys can use cameras now, you can use online photos, as long as they're not, they're stock photos or they're open source and unlicensed. So first thing we did is we opened up that Kagan mat. So I'm just going to use this mini bridge that I have over here because I have all the pictures that I want right here. It's just going to be a little faster for the sake. You can go back to the School Fusion page and grab them. So I'm just going to pop this page up here, this little file, and move it up to the top here. And what we did is we were cropping it. So what I did was clicked on the crop tool right here. And you can notice that you get a little border around here, and we're going to slice it down. And the other thing that you'll notice if I'm on the outside of it is I can make it rotate right like that. So I'm gonna bring this down so it's almost 90 degrees on every side. Bring that up there. And you can see it's a little bit off, so I might want to turn it a little bit. And then bring that in, bring this up to right about there. And once I either click the check mark up here or press enter on my keyboard, it's going to crop that photo, and now I'm down to just that. Remember, if I want to take the crop off, I can either click on the selection tool, and then that's there. So it looks really good right now. I got pretty much everything that I want to get. And so now I can go and I can file print this photo, and as you notice, it's going to be really large. So if you remember, what we had to do is come down to where it says position and size, and we're going to click on the scale to fit media, and you're going to see how that jumps down just like that. Other things that are in here, let's see. That's gonna be really good. I don't think we need to do anything else. So we're just going to leave that right there. And then you can print that off, and then you have a little picture that's cropped down. And so we will finish that. So that's the crop tool. It just takes out pieces of the outer edges that you don't want. And that's how that works. So I'm going to just exit that off and then say no. And now we're going to move into how do we move things. And how do we get rid of things in pictures. So if you remember, we took this picture of Helena playing in the sand, and so the first tool that we're going to pick up on is the zoom tool, and I'm going to zoom in on this kid back here because I don't know this kid, and so I'm going to continue to zoom in, and I'm going to take what's called my quick selection tool, which is over here. Remember how I said that if there's an arrow, if I just click on the arrow, hold that down, then I can get the other tools that are behind it. So I'm just going to use this quick selection tool, and I'm going to start selecting on this kid right here. And you're going to notice I'm going to grab some of it, and I'll probably get outside of the area as well. And so if I got more of the area like this sand that I don't want on my keyboard, I'm going to hold down the Alt key. It's going to change this cursor. You see how it has a plus sign? It'll change it into a minus. So then I'm going to just paint a little bit over here. See, now I got to get a little bit more of him there, get a little bit off, somewhere right in this area. And if I want to get rid of that. And see, it's not a perfect system. It's just quickly doing this, so I don't want that right there, and I don't want that right there, and maybe not right in there. So that's pretty good right there. I'm okay with that. You know, if I want to get a little bit more, then that's okay. If I'm outside just a little bit, that's okay. But I have most of him of what I want. I might just try to take this down a little bit more. Ooh, that was not what I wanted to do. Remember, if you make a mistake, we can just always, I'm going to zoom back out a little bit because I'm zoomed very far in. There we go. That's good. So then I'll go back to my quick selection tool. And like I said, it's not a perfect system, but it's quick. And I'll just leave it like that. So now, two things you can do. You can press the delete key on your keyboard, and that should bring up a menu. But if you don't have a delete key, or you just want to go a little bit longer way, you can press edit and then fill. And it's going to do the same thing. It's going to bring up this button. It says content aware. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say okay. And it's going to, Photoshop's going to do its thing. It's going to remove the kid. Now I can see that I moved him away. It's picking up pixels around it, and now I have to work on some of these other pieces over here. So I can click select, deselect to get that off. And now my next tool that I'm going to use is this little healing brush tool. And I'm going to just start painting some paint around here. You'll see that little dark spot go on there. And what it's going to do is pick up the pixels that are around it and try to get rid of these pictures. Okay? The other thing that I can do, and you can see his outline, I'm just trying to get rid of some of this stuff. Okay? Just painting to get rid of all this stuff. There we go. And now you can see that I have this a little part of this orange pale right here that I don't want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump over to my clone stamp tool, 2 tools down, click on it, and I'm going to hold the Alt key down to get a sample of this sand right there. And what I'm going to do is start painting again, and it's going to take a little sample there. So I can go grab another spot right there and start painting over here. Okay, if I don't, just painting, try to get all this stuff off that I don't want. All right, and it looks pretty good. I can still see some evidence of him, so I'm gonna like take a little sample right there, just kind of get rid of some of this stuff. Try to get rid of some of this, give it a little bit of sand. Okay, so again, it's not a perfect system by any means. And maybe over here, I might want to take a sample of this concrete right here and like paint over here. Try to make that still look kind of concrete-ish. I want that. And then I might want a little bit more sand right there. And we're just about done with our picture. I still have a little bit over there, so I might go back to my healing brush tool and just get rid of some of this to make it like that. Okay, so now I'm just at my point. Oh, right, continue. And I might just want to grab a little bit more over there. And you can make this as much as you want, as nice as you want, and you can spend as much time as you want on it. But I feel good about that. Now it looks like that guy is gone. So the next thing that we did was we zoomed out, and you can double click on this hand tool. It takes you back to the original picture, and you can see for the most part that kid is gone. It looks like he's never been in that picture. So another part that we did on here was we looked at Helena and we looked at her shirt. So I'm going to zoom in, and she's got some, I'm going to zoom in, not out. I'm going to zoom in on her shirt. You can see she's got some spots on there. So again, I'm going to take that healing brush tool right there, and I'm just going to paint on her shirt and remove these spots that are on here. It's pretty good. And again, if you don't like the little neckline there, you can take that out, just like that. Same thing with this right there. And okay, and then that just kind of fixes that up just like that. Okay, and now I've just corrected a little bit of the photos. I took away some spots on her shirt, so it looks like she's clean. And that's really it. So that's what we did with the first picture. We moved that around. All right. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about how do we move a sign. So when you're done with this, you can save it. I'm going to go ahead and just exit off of here. And I'm going to say no, I don't want to make any changes to it. So I have my original photo. So the next thing we did was we took this sign right here. And again, we're going to take a little piece of this sign and we're going to move it over to the right. So I went ahead and I was using a tool called the Content Aware Move tool. And if you want to zoom in on it to make it a little bit easier to grab the sign, I'm going to grab this sign. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw a line. I don't like how that's coming out. I'm going to undo that. And I'm going to go back to the opening of it. Okay. Select. Let's come back over here. No, I don't want to crop the image. Cancel. Don't crop. Oh, sorry. I was on the wrong tool. Don't crop. Okay. So now I'm on the right tool, the Content Aware. It was a little bit similar to that crop tool. So I'm going to zoom in again so I can get all that I want. Maybe too far. I'm going to back it out one. There we go. So Content Aware is I'm going to draw, and I'm going to go to the outside right here. And I'm just going to draw around the sign. Just like that. Close it up. And now I can just move it to where I want it. So if I want to take this and I want to drag it over here, put it on the ground so it looks like it's on the ground, and leave it, and then Photoshop's going to do its thing. It's going to move it over. And then I probably have a little bit of touch-up work to do. That's actually really good right there. I have a little bit of the sign right there. So again, I can take my healing brush tool, my spot healing brush tool. I can draw over it. Oh, that doesn't work, does it? Why? Because I have to select deselect in order for that to work. So now, if I draw over it, it'll do some Content Aware fill. That makes that sign go away. And that's pretty good. And there goes, there's how that works. If I want to do some, again, some spot healing tools right on here, I can do that. If I want to clone stamp that, so that way it doesn't look like I have sky right down there and sky right down there, I can take this clone stamp tool. I could take a sample of this grass right here by clicking Alt, and then just going up like that, and taking a little bit like that. And then if I want more of the sign, I can get right on top of that sign, and then do a little bit of that. Okay, so that's basically how that works. If you want to be more precise with it, you know, you can zoom in more to really get it precise, because you still have a little bit of background there. You can always go back to your clone stamp tool, take a little bit more of this grass right here, you know, do a little bit like that, right around there. Then if I want a sampling of like this guy, I can do that. So that's basically how we move things in Photoshop. You got the idea of it. And then if I zoom out, I mean, really looks pretty good. Moving on. So the next thing that we were talking about was Noah at preschool, or at the Air Force game, and how do we take things and put them on a different background. So again, I'm gonna exit this off right here. No, I'm not gonna change it. If you wanna save it, you can save it, but it keeps those changes permanent. Or you can save it as something different. So I'm gonna say no, I don't wanna do that. And next, I'm going to take 2 images. I'm going to take this star right here as my background. And I'm also going to let that open up, and I'm wondering if I can pull this one up as well. I see I don't want them like that. I gotta undo that, step backwards. Because I really want him on a different layer. So I'm gonna go back here. I want to cancel that. All right. So here we go. Let's open that up. Oh, too much. Let's just bring that up there. Now I'm gonna do File Open, and I'm just gonna grab it from the desktop. That's gonna open it up so it's in 2 different layers. So now what I want to do is I want to take Noah. I want to pull him out of this picture that's at the Air Force game, and I want to move him over to the star. But I also want to take the lollipop out of his mouth at the same time. So I'm going to zoom in, and I'm actually going to use the magic wand on this one because it's a little bit better of a tool. And in order to use the magic wand, you got to hold the Shift key down in order to add to your selection. Or I can make my tolerance a little bit bigger, and that selects more of the pixels. So I might try that. So I'm just going to hold the Shift key down right there, get a little bit more of that, get a little bit more of that. Okay, so I just made my tolerance a little bit bigger to select the whole thing. And then we go ahead and we do the same thing. We're going to do Edit, we're going to do Fill, and we're going to say OK because it's on Content Aware. And it's going to take that off, and then we're going to do Select, Deselect. I still have some of that, so now I can go to my Spot Healing tool, and I can go drag a little bit. And it should be just taking the pixels that are right around it. And so what I can do there, see his lip is like a little bit different color. I'm going to take a little sampling of that color right there. I'm going to fill that in, make his lip look a little bit better. And maybe take a little sampling right there. Something like that. Again, not perfect by any means, but those are a couple techniques that you can use. And now I'm going to zoom that out. Okay, and now I'm going to select him. And if you always want to keep the lollipop in his hand, you can always go back. Remember, you can always go back to whatever you did, because that makes sense. That's what he had. We're going to go back to our quick selection tool, and I'm just going to start dragging around him. Notice it's going to pick up more of my space over here. So then I'm going to hold the Alt key down to get the minus sign, get a little bit off of there, a little bit over here, off of there. I missed his ear, so maybe I want to try to come back and get his ear. And that's pretty good. I might try to take just a little bit off there. Okay, so I got him there. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to move him. So I'm going to click on the Move tool, which is over here. I'm going to grab him out of here. So I cut him out. I'm going to go up to this layer up here and then drag down on top of the star. And now I have moved him to that background. So the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to resize him. So I'm going to go to Edit, Free Transform, and bring him down to size to where I want him. I can move him up. If I hold the Shift key down, it holds him in proportion. Okay, so then we're happy with that. If we press Enter, he got transformed. I can always move him wherever I want to move him. He's on that layer, you know. So if I want the A and the R right there, So now what I have is I have a picture here where he is a little bit brighter than the picture itself, and this is what we didn't get to before. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to create a little mask on him, and I'm going to paint over him to make him darker but not the star background darker. So what I'm going to do is it says add an adjustment over here, and I'm going to click on the one that says exposure. Now there's lots of adjustments. You could do brightness, contrast levels, curves, different things. I'm going to do exposure for right now. And here is my properties for the exposure. And so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start moving him so he gets darker. Notice if I do it, the whole thing gets blacked out. And that's okay. I'm just going to move it to a position, and I'm focusing on Noah itself, not the star, because we're going to fix that in a second. And I'm going to make him a little bit darker. And then maybe a little correction right there. And that looks good to me. Now he looks a little bit darker. Looks like he actually belongs in that background a little bit more than before. So the next thing I'm going to do is you'll notice that on this exposure layer, created a new layer, and then this little chain with the white, it's a mask. But what I could do from here is I could actually paint the star, but that would take too long. So if I took my paintbrush, okay, and I started painting, but I want to switch my colors to black, you'll see that it'll lighten up, okay, but if I had to do the whole picture, it would take too long. So I'm actually going to jump back over a couple steps. And instead of painting the whole picture around Noah, I'm going to paint Noah. But what I got to do is I got to turn this black. So in order to do that, I'm going to go to Image, and I'm going to go to Adjustments, and I'm going to go to Invert. So now you can see that this exposure turned black, and everything turned light again. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my colors over here, and I'm going to reverse them. So now I have white, and I'm going to start painting Noah, and you'll see how he gets darker. Okay, so I'm darkening Noah, darkening his hat, and you can see that now he looks more like he should be in that photo. Okay, notice on the exposure it created a little cutout of Noah over there, and that's exactly what I wanted to do. And that was the step that we didn't get to yesterday. So you can always rewind this and go back and say, what did he do? And that just helps to make him look a little bit different, or a little bit better. Yeah, we're going to stop right there. And then the last part of this was you can save this as whatever you want to. And then you'll have a new picture. So that's really it. The other thing that we didn't cover, is if you wanted to add text. We'll do that in another class, but you just click on the text tool, and text will create a new layer on the top, and you can write on any picture that you want creating text. In order to get rid of these things, I'm just going to click, I'm going to drag, I'm going to drop, put it back in the trash can over here, and that's it. So I hope that helps you guys, and I hope this video will help you guys so that way you guys can understand Photoshop a little bit better. Any questions? Remember, you can always email me, let me know, and have a great week.